Great day, everybody. My name is Omar Mohammed, helping you improve and progress in business and in life. We are and the host of the Center of HBCU Entrepreneurship Podcast, also one of the representatives of this ecosystem as well. And as you know, the Center of HBCU Entrepreneurship is where HBCU entrepreneurship comes to life. We use this as a platform to really highlight what's happening across HBCUs, especially with the HBCU Entrepreneurship Centers, and the growth, the contributing to the growth that they're having with HBCU-led businesses and their impact with local and national economies. We have two segments. We have On the Yard and we have continuing education. And today we have all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, Kalen Kester, and he's with Morehouse Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. Hey, Kalen,
Highland, yep.
yeah, welcome, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's super exciting to be a part of this.
Absolutely. Well, I'm super excited to learn more about what's happening down in Atlanta.
Yeah,
So first of all, tell us who you are, and how did you get to where you are now?
sure thing. So I'll just start with a quick introduction. Again, my name's Kyle Lancaster. I'm a man of many hats, if you will. I'm based here in Atlanta, so I have a few different roles that I work on currently. Right now, I'm the program coordinator for Google for Startups US. We lead the Black and Latino Founders Funds, where we offer startups $150,000 in non-dilutive capital, as well as wraparound support, such as sales and mental health and coaching therapy resources. In addition to that, I'm the founding director of the Launchpad at Morehouse. It's spun out of our Morehouse Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center, and it's our first dedicated program for student entrepreneurs on campus at my alma mater, Morehouse College. And lastly, I currently sit on the board for Startup Atlanta. It's a local nonprofit focused on helping connect, grow, and promote the local startup ecosystem here.
Oh man, we got a lot to unpack. All right. So you're an alum of Morehouse.
Yes,
All right, good deal, man. It seems like we always go back. I'm an alum at Morgan State University
I
as
love
well.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the work that you're doing. Now, is it just focused on students or it's focused on students, community, and others? Help me out.
So for the Google for Startups program, we're working with seed to Series A companies, not just students. Sometimes there are students that have done some really impressive and cool work on their startups or their businesses. However, with this program at Launchpad at Morehouse, that is dedicated primarily for our students on campus in the undergrad program.
All right. And talk to us about Startup Atlanta. What is
Yeah. Yeah, so Startup Atlanta is a nonprofit. It spun up about 10 years ago. And I actually worked for the nonprofit, like starting my senior year while I was at Morehouse College. I was working there as a community coordinator. And so a lot of my role at the time was like managing a lot of the different events that we would do for the organization. We host an annual award ceremony called the Atlanta Startup Awards. I would also support them with building thought leadership content, sharing really great stories of the wonderful entrepreneurs that are based here in Atlanta. And then also connecting a lot of the resources that we collected in our startup ecosystem guide.
Okay, good deal. All right, I want to jump back to Google for Startups. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's here in Maryland. I'm quite sure it is. I'm not sure where.
We have founders that are based in Maryland. We're a program that operates nationally. And so we do have founders all over, in different states. We're always looking to kind of increase our representation in different states as well. And so definitely looking forward to that over the next few cohorts that we have.
Well, let's talk about that
Yeah,
then. So it's a national program and not just dedicated to, businesses that are in Atlanta.
correct.
So how can someone find out more information? And then what are some of the requirements to participate in that?
Yeah, sure thing. So you can navigate to the website at startups.google.com. They have a bunch of really great information, not only on the founders funds, which I currently help operate and coordinate, but also some of the other really great programs that Google has dedicated to entrepreneurs. There are things such as a women's accelerator, Black accelerator, things that help folks get the support resources that they need, specifically as it pertains to AI adoption. And in terms of like how people can get involved or learn more, we actually just recently closed out our applications for this year's cohort. However, with those accelerators and other really great programming that's coming out, definitely encourage folks to continue to stay engaged with the Google for Startups programs, because we always kind of lean back to some of those programs to see if there are any special kind of cases or folks that might be a good fit for the funds later down the line.
That's pretty good, man. And because
Yeah.
It's just not localized, if you will. It's all
Yep.
country. I like that. All right, so let's dive into Launchpad. You know,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing with Launchpad? What's
Yeah, so I'm under the really wonderful leadership of Dr. Tiffany Bussey. She's, been a mentor for me. She was the person that introduced me to entrepreneurship when I was an undergrad. And in 2021, she had reached out specifically on this initiative to stand up our student entrepreneurship program. And so back in 2021, we started with about 8 fellows, and we had a dedicated space that we've turned into our Launchpad at Morehouse studio. Um, Fast forward to 2024, we now have 25 students in our program, but we have a community of over 50 entrepreneurs or folks that are interested in the entrepreneurial process that we engage through different community events. Some of the events, for example, that we've had for Founders Week at Morehouse, we celebrate every annual year that we have. We actually had 2 alum come, and they were very well-esteemed alum. Justin Bayless, he founded the Bayless Healthcare Integration Systems, and he's also an investor. He's also started a Journey Venture Studio, and he came and spoke to our fellows and our community to talk about some of his experience growing up as an entrepreneur and some of the things that he learned while he was at Morehouse and beyond. In addition to that, we also had Verdon Perry. He's a VP of Strategic Partnerships at Blackstone, also a Morehouse alum. And so it was really great to have him pulled in because a lot of our funding is actually coming from Blackstone's Launchpad initiative, if you will. And so he's, really leaned in to support. He's on our board of trustees at Morehouse. And we were able to have him also connect with the students as well. Outside of that, we do things such as workshops to help folks understand the different entrepreneurial skills that they might need to be able to build on their ventures. We have guest speakers come, such as investors, operators, people who are running their businesses currently, so that the students can get inspiration and also insights on how they be able to build their business based on people who've learned it. And then we also have really great events that we also host and have our students take part in. One upcoming event that we actually have coming up is the Dream Makers Summit. It's going to be a showcase of the different research that the students are doing on campus, but then also our student innovators are going to have innovation demos where they'll be able to showcase some of the really wonderful business products that they've been building.
I love that. So a couple of things. So
Yeah.
I noticed that with Blackstone Launchpad, a lot of
Mhm.
schools are using fellows. I like that idea. We should
Yeah.
be we call us interns, but we
I love it.
go change the fellows then. So are you just dealing with the 25 or are you dealing across campus to educate other folk about entrepreneurship,
That
students?
is a great question. Yeah. So we actually have a really interesting partnership with the Center for Black Entrepreneurship led by Grant Warner.
Yeah.
He does a really wonderful job of pulling all of our campuses together. For those who aren't familiar with Morehouse College, it sits in a place called the Atlanta University Center. And essentially that's a makeup of 4 different institutions, including Morehouse College, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, and Morris Brown. And so with a lot of the work that the Center for Black Entrepreneurship, we collaborate on different events. And so there are things that we do together, such as have AUC-focused mixers, for example, to get the entrepreneurs to connect with each other. I also work very closely with the folks in the Spellpreneur program. Shout out to Eric Thompson. He's always, sharing ideas, attending our events, showing up and supporting us in that way as well. And then also shout out to Ron Saytud over at Clark Atlanta University. We're always collaborating and finding really great ways to make sure that all of the resources are shared across the campuses.
Man, I love that, man. So
Yeah.
here in Maryland, we have 4 universities, but they're so spread apart.
Yeah.
When I came down to Morehouse, well, I actually came to Clark, but Morehouse is right there. Spelman
Yep.
is
Yep.
more Brown is right there. And you all are not looking at this as, man, this is my territory. You
Yeah.
can't come over here. You all are looking at this. I mean, I've heard from Clark saying this too, and Grant used to be up here at Howard. Now
Yep.
he's down there. So but you all are using this as an opportunity to work together. HBC
Absolutely.
together to really empower entrepreneurship. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely able to achieve a lot more together. And then there's also, just we have our own student populations. And so, of course, there are the spaces where we do have our own distinct lanes.
Yeah.
However, there are always tons of opportunities for collaboration that we always lean into.
Right. And it's just not coming out of, I know with some of these HBCUs, entrepreneurship lies or sits within the School of Business.
Yep.
And it just sometimes stays there. But it seems like you all are going across campus and going to other campuses and exposing people to entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the biggest prides that I've had over the course of us starting this program. One of the really interesting statistics or facts that we've had is we've been able to reach over 20 different majors of students that are participating in our programming, which is a true testament to us making sure that we reach out to folks outside of just the business lane. And you find that, we're at a liberal arts college. And so a lot of the guys have this really natural focus on creativity. A lot of guys have really great ideas that they want to bring to life, and it's really great to be in a position to be able to help enable that.
Absolutely. So I must ask a question. So those
Yeah.
who are tuned in, they're going to be asking this question, or they should be asking this question. What's the secret sauce of Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Morris Brown, all working together
Yeah.
to empower entrepreneurs respectively at their universities and then just across that ecosystem? And what do you call what is it called?
The AUC. Yep,
AUC.
the Atlanta University Center.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah. I don't know if it's a secret anymore, if I share the secret stuff. But no, I think, there's a ton of collaboration. I think that's definitely a huge thing that I'll say. I think that that's been super helpful in terms of just being able to share resources or connect with each other on different things that are happening. One thing I love that our groups do, and especially in the HBCU community, even in the Blackstone Launchpad, we have normal touch points and cadences of reaching out to each other. We'll all hop on a call and kind of just go round robin and share what we're working on or what type of support that we need. And those touch points are really helpful for us to not only know and be aware of the things that are happening, but to also be able to share where we might be able to offer support or any other resources that might be helpful in those different, use cases.
okay, I love that. I love that. All right. So anything else you want to share before we jump to the next segment on the yard? Anything else? How can people
Um,
with you?
Yeah, so if you have any questions related to the Launchpad at Morehouse, you can reach out to me directly at kylan.kester@morehouse.edu. If you have questions about the Google for Startups program and any of the other programs that Google for Startups hosts, you can reach me at kylank@google.com.
All right, good deal. And it's open not only to, I know Launchpad is for students.
Mhm.
Google for startups is for anybody.
Yep, it's for C to Series A stage companies. We also have been prioritizing companies that are leveraging AI technology. And of course, it's a huge plus if they're currently running on Google Cloud products, for example, just so that we can be able to be well positioned to support those types of companies that they're in the program.
I love that. And what role do you all play with alumni? I heard you mention that before.
Yeah.
Launchpad.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we don't have a formal program for alumni, but I've known so many different entrepreneurs while I was on campus, and then even connected with so many that have been alum, beyond that. And so some of the ways that we keep them engaged include the different events that I mentioned earlier. We even have them come and do like one-off speaker series sessions, or they'll come over and do a takeover of our workshops. And I love to, have folks. And we just recently, another shout out, we just recently had Ronald Falls Jr. He's an investor and operator. He came and shared some of his experience and some of the things that he learned through his journey of entrepreneurship. And my biggest thing with getting our alumni pulled in is just giving the opportunity and platform for them to share their experiences so that students can learn from their mistakes and they don't have to go through them themselves.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. I mean, man, you go from the students to the community to the
Yeah.
alumni. I'm loving it. Anything with the faculty? I mean, I know Dr. Bussey is doing some stuff. Are you
Yeah.
doing work with the faculty as well?
Yeah, Dr. Bussey is keeping us busy, but I'll say, there's tons of really cool touch points that we have. There's a competition that we actually just had over the weekend called the CENT competition. It's social innovation, focused on social innovation, and we collaborate with the faculty that help lead and run those types of programs. And we primarily help like with promoting it and getting it in front of our fellow community as well as the Launchpad at Morehouse community. And then we also, get them prepped up and primed to kind of get ready for those types of things. So they had to prepare a pitch. And I would, we have a studio space that we'll have the guys come sit, you do your pitch and get feedback. And so we work very closely on that front. We also have an entrepreneurship minor at Morehouse College now, which is the first time that we've had it, and it started last year.
Okay.
And so through that, we also kind of collaborate with a lot of the entrepreneurship professors or faculty, and they get pulled in on different events and things like that that we do as well.
All right, great, great. All right, so that's Morehouse University, and that's university, right? Not
No,
college.
it's college. Yep, it's a
Okay,
college.
college. Okay, Morehouse College. All
Mhm.
right, so that's on the yard. Now we go into the segment we call continuing education because we also
Okay.
always want to educate individuals. And today we're talking about I don't know if this is new to people, but it may be new to people. I we have the foremost expert, right?
Here we are.
So we're going to talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So first of all, what is entrepreneurship and why are you passionate about this?
Sure thing. So, entrepreneurship basically describes using all of the different skill sets or the kind of different toolbox that you build as an entrepreneur and applying that within an established organization or a company to help foster or accelerate innovation within that company. And essentially, I'm really passionate about it because throughout my career, I've kind of had different touch points working in corporate America. And in that, a lot of what I found is that we're the kind of the front in the front line of being able to build a lot of these different new initiatives, programs, or services for these large companies or organizations. And that is a very entrepreneurial process. I worked in consulting for 4 years prior to working here at Google. I worked at Accenture, and the nature of that work is, very focused on bringing these new ideas to life, and having a process in place to help enable that. And I found that, it was really interesting because I felt like there were different touch points of work that I've done, projects that I've had, where it's just like there's so much creative juice and energy that I have, but I don't think that they quite knew what to do with me. And so I ended up, learning more about how I could be able to apply these skill sets in different ways. And that's, ended up landing me in the roles that I'm currently in today. But it was definitely something that I ended up noticing while I was working in consulting. It's just, there are these ideas that we bring to life. How do we create a process and a system around doing those things?
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's interesting. When I was first involved with the Entrepreneurship Center, I used to say that too. I'm an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, y'all. I'm an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Yeah, so and the work that we do, we know everybody's not going to become a full-time entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
then just like you said, especially the students who want to, come into my office and probably come into your office, they may not be ready for entrepreneurship full-time,
Yeah.
but going into a corporate government environment can lead them to entrepreneurship. So talk about that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I think a lot of my passion behind it also comes from meeting a lot of the really wonderful and exceptional founders that I've worked with. And I found that one common thread or golden thread that I've seen across all of those really wonderful founders are they had industry experience.
Mm,
And so one of the things that I even work with a lot of my student entrepreneurs on is like, how do you develop and be really intentional about your origin story when you're talking about what you're building? And how do you build domain expertise in a specific field or industry, and what experiences do you have that fuel whatever that domain expertise might be? And so I think that that's kind of the approach that I've been taking with working with the students on helping them understand and wrap their head around it, because a lot of them are looking for their first internships or first, entry level roles. And it's really tough kind of figuring out what that future looks like. But if you're intentional about where you want to be, it's super helpful to have things like, guidance, support, and resources to be able to get to that process. So that's what I kind of show up there for.
Yep, and I like that. I was going to say internships as well. And,
Yep.
entrepreneurship is something that I don't know if anybody's teaching that. Do you know if anybody's teaching that as a class?
Not as a formal class. I mean, hey, we can, figure out what that could look like. But I also will do another really great shout out to Valina Scott Shelton, who's doing some really interesting work in the space of entrepreneurship. Not a ton I can share at the moment, but definitely see folks out here really spinning up some great work in that space.
Absolutely. What's the person's name again?
Valina Scott Shelton.
Okay, good deal. We'll look her up as well. All right. So is there any specific skill set that someone would need to be an entrepreneur, if you will?
Yeah, that's great. I think that there's, different approaches that you can take because the way you show up as an entrepreneur will ultimately, be different depending on what your background or expertise is. There are folks who I've seen that have computer science backgrounds, and they're just super passionate about being a founder, or they were a founder before and they decided to come and work at a Google, for example, after getting acquired or after shutting down their business, but applying their skill sets to that. So I won't necessarily say that there's just one set of skills that would fit, but I will say that there is a kind of personality type that it works really well for. And those are folks that have that kind of good mix between both the creative and the analytical, being able to solve problems, but not only identifying what those problems are, but seeing the problems in the solutions from end to end. And having that kind of natural hunger and curiosity to kind of see that through is definitely going to be something that'll help.
Absolutely. It's like entrepreneurship.
Yep,
It's just like
exactly.
entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
And, as we talk about this entrepreneurship, I'm just thinking, maybe that can be something because, again, everybody's not going to be an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
but, if we talk about entrepreneurship, I think people will get that. You know, even some of the academicians on campus that are in the sciences, that's in the arts. Oh, you know, I could think entrepreneurship, and I could go work for this firm, and I can make an impact for
Yeah.
this firm as well. You know, so yeah, maybe we need to.
Yeah, and the path to getting things done is sometimes I would say that they're different depending on the company that you're working for. But as I'll say, the path to getting things done as an entrepreneur is usually a little easier because you have resources that are already built in.
Yeah,
Sometimes a company will give you a budget, a team, and all of those different things, so it helps kind of get you through that process. But not every company is the same, so not everyone has those same resources coming out the gate.
absolutely. Or some of these companies may not want individuals to be that part. But you know, I'm seeing, you know, here in Maryland, I'm quite sure in Atlanta too, you know, corporations are looking to have their employees think entrepreneur, even on the academic side.
Yep,
You know, in order for us to continue to fund our centers, I mean, we're thinking entrepreneurial as well. You know, we think
exactly.
Mario as an entrepreneur, if you will,
Yep.
with that. All right. So any thoughts about, you know, further research on entrepreneurship that people can kind of go to in order to learn more about it?
There aren't any like specific resources I can share at this time, but there are so many resources coming. So I'm really excited to see all of the really great work that's happening in this space. And I'd encourage folks to stay connected with me on LinkedIn, connect with Valina Scott Shelton, who's going to be sharing a lot more of that really great work as it comes. And then also, you know, there are tons of resources out there currently around entrepreneurship. I got a lot of my own education on it through resources like Harvard Business Review. I love reading their publications, and it also talks a lot about how you bring these new ideas to life in different ways. And so I think that that's a really great resource for folks to check out as well.
All right. So the students that are tuned in, because students will have an opportunity to see this as well.
Nice. Okay.
And listening to
I
us,
guess.
you know, what's happening, you know, so is there a difference between the entrepreneur and the entrepreneur? And the resources are coming, y'all, so stay tuned for those
Yes.
resources. But you know, how can people thinking about this and you know, I know you said this before, but you know, the people who are thinking about getting involved and being, and I love what you said creative solve problem solvers.
Yep.
So those individuals are more likely to flow into entrepreneurship, and you're going to prove that with the research that you're doing too. You know, so for those students who are tuned in, you know, how can I just how can I just jump into entrepreneur? Because I don't want to be an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, but I
Yeah.
want to solve problems. And I noticed that, you know, the younger generation, they're into solving problems. So
Yeah.
how can they just jump right into to entrepreneur while still a student at a college?
Yeah, well, I'll say that you know what I share with the students that I've worked with so far is just developing that domain expertise is going to be the biggest way to really kind of develop that skill set as an entrepreneur. You know, understanding what is it that you're good at. There's this like concept of in Japanese it's called ikigai, and it's basically like, what is it that I'm good at? What is it that I like to do? And what will I get paid for? And find that like Venn diagram of that center thing of like, what is it that really helps you find that fulfillment? In my early part of my career, I liked working in a role such as consulting because it's a project-based type of work. And so with that, I was able to try different projects, get to work with different types of companies, get to understand what their cultures were like. And those things mattered to me when I wanted to kind of finally, you know, figure out where is it where I want to kind of put my stake. But getting to try different experiences is going to be a huge part of that process as well. And just trying to find out, you know, where you can find that ikigai, that kind of center of that Venn diagram that you are doing something that's fulfilling, while also being able to get paid for it, of course. And so that's one thing I'd say. And then also the exercise that we did with our fellows for this workshop. I basically have them kind of imagine themselves in 10 years from now. And what is it that, you know, when you're doing, you know, your pitch and you're going up and telling your founder origin story, what are some of the experiences that you've had? Did you, you know, work at Coca-Cola for the last, you know, 5 years and you saw that there was an issue with waste and you said, you know what, I want to really tackle this problem because I worked very closely with this through the work that I did. You know, just doing exercises like that. And it could change depending on, you know, what you find and how you're testing out different roles and things like that. But just going through that exercise will help you kind of get really intentional about how you'll kind of align your career. And be what we call consequential with the different types of work that you do, meaning, the thing that I'm doing now is helping build up to the next, big, step or whatever I'm going to be doing next. So that's kind of the advice that I would give to the students that are listening in on that.
Absolutely. It's almost like an internship. You go in there and you're learning that domain,
Mm-hmm.
academic knowledge, and you're building that towards something that 10 years from now, this is how it look, and this is how I got there. I love that exercise. That exercise. All right. Any other thoughts you want to add as relates to entrepreneurship?
Not at this time, but I really appreciate this platform to be able to talk about it more, and definitely looking forward to seeing this conversation continue and grow around entrepreneurship, because to your point earlier when we started, it's not as common, and it's something that a lot of even like Black entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs are driving a lot of really interesting change in these spaces. And so I definitely hope that it gets the spotlight it deserves.
Oh, it will. I know you. You full of it. So I really appreciate you. All right, before we shut down, any
Yeah.
final thoughts? Any final comments?
No, I hope that this was a valuable session, and hope that folks were able to take any insights and any information that I've shared here and can use it in the future. If you all want to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me at Kylan, Kylan, Kester, Kester. And again, if you want to reach out to me on the Morehouse front as a partner or a student, and you have any questions, you can reach me at kylan.kester@morehouse.edu. If you have questions about Google for Startups programming, you can reach out to me at kylank@google.com.
All right. We'll make sure we get those on. Really appreciate you coming on and you sharing, what's happening down in Atlanta. I got to share this. So my 17-year-old daughter just shared with me today. I thought she was coming to Morgan. She said, well, I'm looking at Clark and I'm looking at Spelman.
It's all right.
Like, okay. So, I know people down there, so
yeah, send her my way. Yes, she's got good taste. So if you need any connections, they're definitely glad to connect her with the folks over at Spelman or Clark Atlanta University.
Absolutely. Well, definitely appreciate that. All right, everybody, continue bringing HBCU entrepreneurship to life. Until we see each other again, continue to improve and progress. Peace.
Thanks again, Omar.